Hi, I hope you're well. Do you like my tie? I like my tie. Okay, so I'm on holidays at the moment. I'm having a pretty good time. I'm relaxing and I've been mucking around with some of my hobbies, and I thought I'd make a video today about one of my hobbies. In recent times, I've been trying to learn how to use an Arduino, trying to learn a little bit of coding and a little bit of mechanization. I'm very much in the beginning stages of this. I've been watching some fantastic videos online to learn how to do it, and I've been tinkering around with an Arduino here at home, and I encourage you to do so as well. My favorite video online to watch in how to use Arduino is linked in the description below. This footage that you're seeing here, my apologies for the footage. Being on holidays, I don't have access to the usual lighting that I do when I'm at work. Anyhow, in this footage that we see here, we see a prototyping board with 4 LEDs and 4 resistors placed in it. We've got a potentiometer in there as well. As I turn the potentiometer, we can see that the LEDs come on one at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4 until they're all lit, and then I can turn it the other way to make them go away. Having a look at this circuitry that you see here, it's a little bit difficult to see where I've plugged in all my wires and what exactly I'm doing. So that's where circuit diagrams come in handy. Let's have a look at a circuit diagram. Hopefully this circuit diagram makes it a bit easier for you to see what I'm doing. I've got my 4 LEDs and my 4 resistors to protect those LEDs, and they're hooked up onto the right-hand side of the circuit diagram. I've got my potentiometer being fed 5 volts from the Arduino. That's hooked up on the left-hand side of the diagram. And all my components are all being fed to the same ground pin on the left-hand side. Here's an image of an Arduino just to give you a little bit of perspective, but it doesn't really line up with the pins. So if we have a look at this, this should indicate the pins that I'm using, and you can see that I'm using an analog pin, A3, to receive information from the potentiometer, and then I'm using 4 digital pins on the right-hand side of the Arduino to give information back out to those LEDs. The purpose of my program was to light up those LEDs, so I had to receive information from the potentiometer, and that information was received into pin A3. It was given to the Arduino as a value between 0 and 1023. I had to then convert that to a value between 0 and 5 for the 5 volts. And then I had, for the rest of my program, a series of if-then statements. If-then statements. If the potential drop is greater than 1 volt, then we want to see that one of our LEDs gets lit up. If it's greater than 2 volts, 2 of our LEDs get set up. Now, this image that you're seeing here, this flow chart, which is what I used to design my program, that's a little bit difficult to read. So we'll have a bit of a closer look at it now. Here's a closer look at my flow chart. We're going to receive some information from the Arduino. That value will come to us as a value between 0 and 1023. We then need to convert that value into a value between 0 and 5 for the 5 volts that could potentially drop across. We then start asking our if-then statements. If the voltage is greater than 1, then we turn on LED R1. If the voltage is greater than 2, then we turn on LED R2. If the voltage is greater than 3, then we turn on LED R3. And if it's 4, we turn on LED R4. For each of the if-then statements, if the answer is no, we go back to the beginning of the program to take more readings. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you is the program. In Arduino, this is known as a sketch. It's written in the Arduino IDE, the Integrated Developer Environment. In my integrated development environment, there are 3 parts to the sketch. The initial part is where we display all the variables that we want to be using in the sketch. The next part of the sketch is the void setup, where we identify which pins we're going to be accessing and what we're going to be doing with the pins. So one of the pins, A3, is going to be an input pin, and the other 4 pins are all going to be output pins, and then of course there is one pin that's going to be our ground pin. The final part of the sketch, the void loop, is the program that just cycles over and over and over and over again. In my void loop, I'm receiving information from the potentiometer through A3. I'm converting that value from 0 to 1023 to 0 to 5, and then I'm making some decisions about how many LEDs to light up. And I've also got the ability in the integrated developer environment to show myself or to print out what the voltage drop is across the potentiometer as we go through. So if you have a look at this footage that you can see now, you can see that as I turn the dial on my potentiometer, I will have different values being printed out on the screen at the bottom. And as they go above 1, we'll see that 1 LED lights up. And as they go above 2, 2 LEDs light up, and so on for 3, and so on for 4 volts. Okay, so that was my little show and tell activity for a hobby that I'm getting into at the moment. For those of you who are already into coding, for those of you who are already into Arduinos, it is very, very basic. I make no apologies about that. I'm just having a good time. For those of you who are not into this stuff and are thinking, maybe you'd like to try it, I really recommend it. Have a look in the description below for a link to one of my favorite YouTubers and his instructional series on how to do Arduino. Okay, see you later.